Welcome back, NextGen Nation. I hope you enjoyed the lunch keynotes. Some really great insights being shared to us. I hope you had an awesome morning with us. And I am so excited for this next session, 5 steps to become a confident public speaker, as we all do different levels of public speaking. My name is Doug Mashkuri. I'm Vice President and General Manager of GovLoop. Today, I have the honor and privilege to also be your moderator. So thanks for being with us here today. So let's talk about today's session. Sweaty armpits, elevated heart rate, racing thoughts. I'm having some of those right now. Does this sound familiar to you? Fear of public speaking is shockingly common, especially considering how often we need to speak in front of peers, strangers, family, whatever it may be. And whether it's a routine meeting, a project pitch, a formal presentation, there are techniques that you can use to feel more confident as a public speaker. And I am so excited because we have those techniques that we'll be able to talk about today. But before we do that, I first am legally obligated to go to these housekeeping items. So let's go through them here. We have a resource section available to you. If you go to the resources tab at the bottom of the screen, there are tons of resources from a lot of our partners and GovLoop that you can download. If you're in need of closed captioning feature, look for that show captions icon along the bottom of your screen and click it. We hope you don't have any technical difficulties, but if you do, send us a message in the Q&A tab and my colleague Kelly will get your questions answered. In that same Q&A portal, you can ask our experts questions, drop them in whenever, and we will cover them either at the end of the presentation or throughout. We also have a chat. This is a great place to talk to other attendees and us. Feel free to use the chat, put some comments in there, tell us what you're doing, how you're feeling. And once again, you can talk to your other attendees there. And then if you miss anything, do not fret. We will email you a link to the entire event tomorrow with the archive. It'll be sent directly to your inbox. We also are offering CPEs for this session. So there's 3 steps you need to take. 1, attend this online training, which you're here, so well done. 2, there will be 3 polls throughout the session. These will come in a pop-up window. We ask that you take the poll, click your answer, submit your answer, hit submit. And then last, the 3rd step is to complete the CPE evaluation. That'll be in the resource module, in the training, and also in the resource center in the main environment. Some people have been having some issues with polls today, and we understand that. It's a pop-up window. It doesn't always work for everybody. If you're having trouble accessing the poll or seeing the poll, just put something in the chat. We'll take note of that, and that will be our proof that you were here for the polling question, and will not get in the way of getting a CPE. So please don't let that be a stressor for you. All right, I think I'm done with my housekeeping items. So now it is my privilege to introduce our speaker, Emily Oehler. Emily is a career coach and director at Guidehouse. I've seen Emily speak multiple times and have always learned something new. And I'm so excited because you're going to learn a ton today. So Emily, I will hand it over to you. Welcome.
All right. Thanks, Doug. I appreciate it. And welcome, everybody. It is after lunch, and I know you're all in digestion mode. So I'm hoping that we can have some fun together, and it'll go by quickly, and nobody will be napping when it's done. I'll see if I can use my own 5 tips to help everybody stay awake and learn today. So I'm excited to be here, and I first wanted to put everyone's mind at ease. I will not be making anyone speak spontaneously in front of the whole class. Thank goodness the technology prevents that, so you all can just sit here and soak it all up. You can take your notes, you can see what your body's doing when I'm proposing certain ideas and tips and go, that one feels like I could do that one, or nope, not mine, but it'll let you just be more present so you're not having to worry about actually speaking today. If you want to practice by yourself where you are, feel free, because none of us can hear you. So you can also practice solo where you are. Throughout the class, if you have comments or if you have additional tips, love for folks to cross share. I do not have all the answers, so please use the chat for additional tips or questions. There's also a Q&A function. And if we don't see them all at once in real time, because that would get me kind of looking cockeyed at my chat, Doug's going to be keeping track, and we'll hit them along the way periodically and at the end. And from my perspective on public speaking, I view it as an everyday activity. The tips I'm going to share can be used in a TED Talk if you're going to go big. They can also be work for you in media interviews, in podcasts, when you're introducing yourself in an environment, PowerPoint presentations, or simply a team discussion or a feedback session. I've tried to make them practical for any type of speaking engagement. I believe your voice is powerful. It's a change agent and needs to be heard. Sitting there and telling everything in your head will not bring about change. That confidence and that external voice has to be brought to life. And I hope the session today helps. And as we go through my presentation, you might be wondering about why I have a lot of farm animals. They really just make me smile. And I know folks are in a lot of stress, and there's a lot going on, and you all have a lot of responsibility in your positions. And so I just thought seeing some fun farm animals would put everybody at ease with such a topic that tends to make folks' shoulders rise. And there will be some data slides. Please note, GovLoop sends them all out. You can take a picture, but you will have access to everything at the end of the session. So I really want to see how everyone's feeling about public speaking. So when you think about it, whether it's an all hands presentation for your division, an interview you're getting ready to do, a complicated presentation or complex conversation you need to have with a teammate, when you think about public speaking, which cloud on the screen best represents your feelings about it? If you can pick the one that best represents you. 9s, 4s, 2s, 9s, 6. All right. And I've got to want to double check. Got some sunny days there. We got the 3, which is a little cloudy. There might be a little light at the end of the tunnel on those. There are some 4s. I can understand the 4. I have been there regularly, so I completely understand. And that 7, that I always think that the 7's kind of the chill vibe. So fantastic. I'd encourage you to, when you get these slides, you can use those. See how you're doing before a big presentation and see what it might take to get you, let's say, from a 4 to maybe a 7, and maybe practicing more or using some of the tips I'll share today. And just for a fun fact, these are all pictures that I have taken on various vacations at my favorite place on the planet, which is called Sunset Beach, aptly so. I'll tell you, for me, when I think about public speaking, I've been in all of these moods. I tend to sit in 2 just because I like the vista that it brings. There's opportunities. I see it as an opportunity to grow and build it and unite bigger things together, a blue sky space. So, but again, I've lived that 4 and I've sweated my way through it. Oh. Okay, there we go. Okay, my slides keep going backwards. There we go. We're on the chicken. Good little visual sign there. So before we jump in, I thought it'd be helpful for you all to get a little sense of my story and what got me here today. I started out at a very young age learning about the power of the voice. My father was a Presbyterian minister, and my mother ran a nonprofit daycare for 300 3 to 5-year-old at-risk children. So I saw through both of them through very different models, from the pulpit to the classroom and fundraising, time and time again, how careful messaging delivered well, empowered people, and impacted change. And that really stood out to me from a young age. In high school, I was both the newsletter editor and on the forensics team. No, that is not Dead Bodies. It's the public speaking team. And we were so competitive, we had our own fight song that ended with the phrase, "Because we're the public speaking team that you love to hate, HHS." So we were obnoxious, but it gave us a little bit more confidence to go into the competitions. I then moved in post-college into television news production. So I have 90 seconds of a lot of random information and stories. I'm currently a director at Guidehouse, and I focus on health communications, org culture, and leadership development. And finally, before we get into the content, I simply want to say thank you, not just for being here, but for all of the hard work you do on behalf of our country, myself and my loved ones, and those in my community. You do a lot, and I appreciate it. All right. So for me, an executive coach, as an executive coach, it really comes down to the setting your intention. The techniques I share or that anyone shares doesn't matter or matter as much if you're not clear on your desired outcome. So I would ask that you open up a tab on your computer or get your favorite writing instrument, pen and paper, and I'm going to lead us through a very quick mindfulness practice to center us in a little bit. Maybe reduce a little more tension if you've still got some about the topic. And I'm going to run through a couple of questions and want you to write down what your responses are. So here we go. You can settle into your chair. If you're at a standing desk, that's fine. Get a good posture that supports you. If you're sitting down, feel your feet on the ground, the solidity beneath you. Perhaps your back is supported in your chair. If you wish to maybe look down at your page instead of getting distracted from what's around you or what's on the screen, I'm first going to ask you to take 3 big breaths. In through your nose and long, slow exhale out through your mouth. So in, out 1. In 2, out. In 3, out. Now picture yourself speaking in an upcoming scenario. Perhaps it's with a teammate you've worked with for a long time and you need to create a new solution, address an inquiry, a new legislative requirement. Perhaps it's with your supervisor about a pending reorg. Maybe it's with your division to launch a new initiative. A reporter sharing your expertise with a podcaster. Collaborating across your agency to those seeking your expertise. In this scenario, you're knowledgeable. You're prepared. You're clear, attentive, engaged, and responsive. How do you feel in this moment speaking? Are you tense? Is your brain thinking overtime, spinning, churning? Are you at ease with the flow? Are you enthusiastic about the opportunity? Are you hesitant? Centered? Write down how you feel speaking in this moment. Thinking about who's in the room with you, who is receiving your information, your words, your slides, your handouts as you explain. How do your remarks make those around you feel? Write down your response. The interaction is over. The information's been embraced. What do your words, your presentation, your speech What does it bring about? If you can write that down, what do your words and the content bring about? It can be a specific action, a type of understanding, a new feeling about something. What did it generate? All right, we're going to take 3 more deep breaths in through our nose, long and slow out through our mouth. 1, 2 in. 3rd in. Now answer this question on your page. And I've put it in the chat. I want to speak with authenticity so that. And if you're willing to share that in the chat, I'd love to see what you are trying to bring about through your voice and your speaking. Can also be used as a good accountability tool when you've shared it with others. But totally understand if you want to keep it private. So for me, with the 5 tips, setting your intention is tip number 1. If you're not clear on why you're speaking and what you want to bring about, it's hard to be effective. So before you go into a meeting, even if these meetings are your daily stand-ups or your weekly check-ins, it's important to understand what you want to get out of them. Are you there to learn? Are you there to inform? Are you there to reduce risk? So being clear on that. And as I'm saying this, I love seeing folks' intentions come in to share knowledge. It's a great thing to think about in your daily meetings and not just the formal occasions. To understand and act on information. I see that from Rochelle. You want folks to be calm and excited. Knowing that you made an impact, that you broke through the clutter or the white noise as you spent time on an effort on things. And another way of thinking about your intention is, what do you want the person who receives your words to think, to feel, and to do? And all 3 are important because the thinking in your brain and the feeling in your being are generally what need to both be aligned in order for action to happen, or maybe positive action. There's a disconnect of, I understand the thing and I feel like it's horrible. I might choose to do something different than what they want and rebel. But again, if you're thinking about how to take your remarks, your presentation, your words, to get folks to align between think and feel so that they can do. And while you have your goals in mind and how you want to get an action done and the way you like to get information and how your brain works, it's always about the receiver. It is about putting them at ease, giving them information that they understand in a way they understand it so that they can internalize it, chew on it, accept it, adjust it, and act on it in an authentic way so that you can present it authentically and they can act on it and receive it authentically. And I will tell you, it can be hard. I have one type of brain. My husband, as a financial advisor, he has a very different type of brain. I work in whole numbers. He works in decimal points. And it makes big difference when we start having certain conversations. So it's always important to think about the receiver in the room and how to bridge the gap between what they need and how you like to share information. So often before a big conversation, it came up with some of those dark clouds, and Doug mentioned them in the opening. you get ready to speak, or it's in the first time in a meeting, or you're a new hire and you don't have a reputation, you've been asked to take on a large challenge or something that you know the organization might not be ready for. New general comes in if you're over in DoD, and your body starts to talk to you. You get the butterflies in the stomach. You get the sweaty palms and the sweaty pits. Then the dry mouth sets in. The heart starts racing, and there's this urge to shrink and back out, or to get smaller, or just to start procrastinating maybe. It's like, I'll feel better about this tomorrow when I start working on it. So welcome to tip number 2. All of these sensations occur because of your brain, and everyone's brain is wired the same way. It's wired to simply keep its human alive. So to accomplish that, it tries to keep us away from risks, and your brain thinks anything that's uncomfortable or new or different is a risk and could kill you. So it starts activating all of these things inside your body, and it confuses your brain. And it's a good thing, because if it is a huge risk, if it is a grizzly bear, you can stay alive because your body has quickly said, run, and run as fast as you can, and you get adrenaline to run even faster. But it also can be wrong. And I'm going to give you all a fun visual. So next time you start feeling all these things when you go to public speak, you might get a little laugh, which can reduce some of this tension. This is what your amygdala in your brain is doing all the time. It's got these little antennas up looking for risk, and it's ready to activate at any given moment. Your amygdala is super, super fast. It has to be, because you don't want to get eaten by a grizzly bear. However, it's dumb, because it can't tell the difference between a bear and a new boss. And one is much more likely to eat you for lunch. And so your brain and your body get all discombobulated. The best way to do to calm down all these things, whether it's at the invitation, whether it's walking down the hallway to the meeting, standing at the podium, getting on that Teams call, is to move which part of your brain is working, to move it from your amygdala over to your prefrontal cortex. That part of your brain moves slower. It's logical and rational, and it will say, speaking is not a grizzly bear. You've prepared. You have good slides. You've practiced. You're an expert. You got this. That's what you'll hear from your prefrontal cortex. But it takes a while to do that. And so there's one thing you can do to shift from grizzly bear amygdala to you got this prefrontal cortex. And we've already done it today. It's to breathe. I wanted to work that in, one, because now you can say you practice your first tip of the day, but simply breathing slowly, ideally for about 7 breaths, in through your nose and out and long and slow through your mouth, moves which part of your brain is working so that you can literally speak better. Your heart won't be racing. You won't talk like this when you get to the podium because and get tongue-tied, because you will have calmed your whole neurological system down. For those who have their doubts about this, Navy SEALs train on this. It's called box breathing. So it's a real thing. And for those who are kinetic learners and like to have that fidgety or have something, you can use your phone as a cue, and you can breathe in, out, in and out, and just run your finger along your phone. If you're in a meeting and you need to calm down while you're going, you can do something. You can have your hand on your leg and just squeeze it to breathe in, release to breathe out, and no one will see this. This is the wonderful magic thing about breathing. It changes your nervous system, and no one knows it's happening. All right, I think we have a poll question here, Doug, before we move into the next topic.
We sure do. I had to find my unmute button here. So let's launch our first poll question. Again, this is going to show up as a pop-up box. And the question is, best thing to do to calm your nerves and focus your brain to speak better is avoid speaking, eat a large chocolate bar, take a few intentional breaths, or speak quickly to get over with it. We'll give you a few seconds to take this. Again, it should be a pop-up poll on the side. If you can't see it, just put a note in the comments in the chat, and we'll make sure that you get credit for doing it. So I'm going to give you like 5 more seconds because I'm really excited to get to this next slide. I just love the imagery of it. So,
and I love someone said, can we pick more than one? I should have had like E, all of the above. You can avoid speaking while you breathe or while you eat a large chocolate bar, and then you can go do it. So, and yes, it is box breathing. I see Sonia in the chat. You can Google it, and there are videos that you can find box breathing, and it's basically in through your nose, hold it, out through your mouth, hold it, and it's a sequence. So while I love eating chocolate, and I did say this, and Doug can back me up, he goes, how are you doing? And I said, I had lunch and I ate chocolate. I'm good to go. So I can speak for number 2's importance in my life as a speaker, but technically it is to take intentional breaths.
Yes. And just so you know, Emily, almost 90% of our audience take a few intentional breaths. So I think we're doing a good job.
Fantastic. So want to move on here with, and I've got all kinds of pop-ups here on my screen. Just want to clear things up a little bit. So you know your intention about your speaking, you know your why, what you want to accomplish. You have calmed your brain down, you've shut down your risk alert system, you've avoided the grizzly bear, maybe had a piece of chocolate. And so now for tip number 3. You need to understand how to best tell your story. Your story can be your content, it can be a pitch, it can be your expertise, so folks can easily absorb it. And so some of the next slides, I'm going to be quickly touching on things that you'll find. Again, there'll be data. All of these slides will be available to you. Let's see. There we go. Just had to click with more authority on my end to get the slide to change. With the data of reaching people, I think it's important to know a little bit what you're up against when you're speaking so that you can counter it and understand the environment. So if you look on the upper left-hand screen of the slide, you're going to see just how strong your thumb is, how much scrolling people are doing all day long, or possibly in a meeting or while you're speaking. If you're verbal all the time, if you have just an oral meeting where everybody just shares things verbally looking at each other around a table, you're missing activating 50% of the brain that is purely wired for visual learning. Not to mention that there's different types of adult learners that you also have to account for. If your information includes an image, you're going to get 94% more readers. 94% of people will pay attention to your content with a picture. And individuals need to get something. 7 need to read it, like just get it, but look at it 7 times before it's even vaguely remembered. So it's important here to denote the difference. I can send something to Doug 7 times. He might read them 3 of those instances. So there is a disconnect between what you send and what people see and look at. And just so you know how much sharing you might have to do in certain cases or in meetings over time. And I will say the 7 is also important for the loved ones in your life. It's something to keep in mind. Honey, I told you that 6 weeks ago once. That might be the problem. So just sharing an internal tip as well with home life public speaking. Coming back to our brains, no more science with the amygdala and the prefrontal cortex, but want you to understand how the brain is designed. I'm going to get quiet here and just let you review just for a second. And really, the biggest takeaway on the brains here is that be short, 8 to 10 seconds. And if it's important for someone to know it, include an image. Bottom line. When you think about presentations, and I know in the government, it all comes back to a PowerPoint. If a PowerPoint didn't enter the room, it didn't happen. If you're speaking more than 10 minutes, you need to re-get attention and reset the group. This could be a pause. This could be a stand-up break. This could be, hey, here's a new handout, and you put some new energy in the room. It could be a distinct change of voice. An activity, I need you all to stop and write something down like we've done. Stop and do a transition story. Other key things to think about is nonverbal is way more important than what you say, interestingly enough. And I'll speak more to that in another tip moving forward. And again, stories and photos are the most powerful way to reach individuals. It's just how we're wired. I love Legos unless you step on them. This visual just sings to me in so many ways as a communicator. I love Legos because there's more than one way to put them together, just like there's more than one way to communicate. No single way is necessarily better than the other. It's right. It might be better for that audience. And when you look at the top row, it's great. You've sorted them, you've organized them. It's better than the top left one. But when you go to the second row, that's where it starts being easier to understand something. So you've got the bar graph visual on your left. You can use that to say, you'll see a marked increase on the right. You can see that. You can see that this thing dominates. Red is way better than black, whatever that one is. Or if you put red and yellow together, that beats out black, green, orange, and lighter green, other colors. And then when you look at the house visual, that's where you tell the story with your data. This could be the 4 out of 5 dentists recommend. This could be the choice between a whole number or a percentage if you have data to be released. This is telling the future vision of what the data is going to create, let's say in change management, your burning platform. This is why the change needs to occur, or the value. People can see something bigger than data, bigger than a recommendation. They can, and this is where the feeling comes in. I can then start to feel something. If I can see what you're seeing, we can work on it together and collaborate. Recently, I did a spokesperson training for the farmers and ranchers who own small businesses across the United States before they went to engage with Congress. And as you can imagine, climate and weather was a big topic, specifically rain and drought, because they require water to do everything, to keep everything alive. But me, as a non-farmer, might not understand the true implications, or when you talk about drought, what that truly means, or what constitutes a drought. Or I might have a very over-extreme television or movie version of that. So we wanted to come up with ways to visualize the data around drought. So we talked about how can you help convert how much rain you need or how much you have or don't have in terms of corn. We decided on corn because most folks know what corn looks like in a field. You can buy the whole corn. It's great this time of year. And you can also get it frozen for those who don't live near a farm. And it's pretty ubiquitous. So we talked about it in terms of how much corn and water is needed to grow that piece of corn. And we also decided to choose what visual of water, and we went with a 2-liter bottle. If you think about the shape of corn and the shape of a 2-liter bottle, we also realized most folks know what a 2-liter bottle of Coke is. You can tell which part of the country I grew up in versus Pepsi or Pop, but folks knew what that looked like. They kind of had a sense of the weight. They had literally touched that much fluid. Another option was a gallon jug. You know, folks go in the grocery store and you see the milk. Again, there was a weight and a size to it rather than just saying we have 20% less rain. We could say we are 7 gallon jugs short every day to keep our crop alive. We also then talked about those who had livestock, cattle. how much water was needed to keep cows alive. And I equated it to, and this was a random guess, turns out to be right, which blew my mind, that it's about a bathtub of water to keep a cow alive. So we then said, how do you visualize that? So you have data. We need this much water. We've organized what that might look like. It's going to fit in a bathtub. Everyone has been in a bathtub that we could think of. So it's a pretty good general option. Maybe we can then visualize that. And when you walk in your presentation, you show a cow in a bathtub thanks to the magic of AI. And again, it will get their attention, but it is converting data, which you can share the numbers, into a visual that they'll go home and probably tell someone, you would not believe the thing I saw today and the fun fact that I learned. And they will share it, and your information can get replicated for you and possibly acted on, maybe with climate change legislation, for example. Another way to think about your audience is, what are they into? So for example, we haven't had rain in 3 months. That's half a Major League Baseball season. That's half a TV season of Grey's Anatomy. That's me. I'm still here. It might end at some point in my lifetime, or it's 1/3 of a pregnancy. And then people can equate to that. So again, as you're thinking about your Lego building, think about the audience. With content design, I first have to stop and point out this picture. I love this picture for so many reasons. This pig is clearly living its best life on the beach. And I also want to tell you all where you can find fun pictures like this for free that have no copyright restrictions. And the website, I'm going to type it in because it is saying and spelling might not be intuitive. It isn't always for me, but Pexel lets you find all kinds of fun pictures for free that with, again, no copyright constraint. When you put your story together, speech, meeting, campaign materials, prepare for an interview, there are 3 things to be clear on. We've talked about one, knowing your why. What is the outcome you want from the interaction, the information sharing, the know, the feel, and the do. Next, you need to have your facts straight. When in doubt, or when you're not clear on where to start with your information or your presentation, go to the basics of news. Who, what, when, where, how, and why. Often I simply write those down at the top of my page. I'm going in to brief the colonel, the director, the CIO. Here are the fundamentals that I have got to work in. Be very clear on those. Then you think about, as we've talked about, your listeners' needs, and then you think about how to visualize it. The third thing, you know what you want to do, you know the data that you have to work with, and when you think about your audience, think about their brains, not necessarily their title, but how they interpret information. I joke with my team, there are PowerPoint brains and there are Excel brains, and they often do not talk well to each other. For example, with my husband, I know I have to go in with an Excel spreadsheet, a literal one, to talk numbers, and I have to be very precise because he's focused on the math accuracy. I round everything up. I'm the PowerPoint brain. I want the high level notes, the details maybe sometimes in certain cases. So knowing that is important with how you speak and the amount of detail you go on. You might be that Excel detail person, and if you come and talk to me, I will get bogged down and distracted, and I will think about my dinner menu for the evening or start creating my grocery list, because you'll lose me because you've never given me the big picture. You can also think about it in terms of formal, informal. There are certain individuals who the tone and tenor you want to use is more formal. Other folks appreciate the casual tone of how you're communicating with them. Some individuals want to listen, see the whole thing, hear the whole thing, and make a decision or ask questions. Other folks have a collaborative style. If you are speaking to a collaborator, look for how you can control that and build in interactions along the way so that you're not feeling interrupted. You can control to some extent when you can accept the interruptions. So always know who's in the room and what they need. Looking at your structure, we've talked a little bit about this in already. Just want to reiterate, when you know the audience, when you know the brain, when you have the content, one of the things I encourage folks to do is to look for a fish hook at some point, how to get their brain centered on what you need. For example, the cow in the bathtub. You kind of, folks are going to stop in the middle of your presentation and go, why is there a cow in the bathtub? If you are talking about climate change, you could go in and say, you know what, the most fickle person I had to work with on this project with Mother Nature. Lightens the load, sets a tone, lets folks kind of relax into the conversation. Even as something as simple as the favorite question in all of the DC area, what do you do for a living? I typically respond, I get people to do things they didn't want to do using words and pictures backed by data. Someone always asks a question. And then I can choose, do I go traditional resume? Here's some things that I've done, or do I start storytelling mode and give some examples of impact that I have had in my career? And so again, look for creative opportunities. And Sonia, yes, the rule of 3. That is the golden rule of communications. It is how news stories are created. Tragedy, victim, expert. It is how fairy tales are written. Once upon a time, bad thing, happily ever after. It is always in 3s. If you even think about going back to school days, when you're first taught to write an essay, it is the opening, 3 points, and the close. I call it the hamburger bun of communicating. 3. It's just magic. It is what our brains can do. It is how communications is wired for decades and decades. And it's not 3 with 3 subpoints and they each have 3 subpoints and those sub-bullet points have 3 bullet points. It's being clear on your 3. Now, are there exceptions to this? There has to be. I'm just saying, when in doubt, just have 3 key points that you want to get across. So if I want to convince you all we need this new IT system, don't walk in with 75 reasons. Don't even walk in with 10. Say, here are the 3 most important things you need to understand about what the IT system will mean for this mission. Faster this, lower risk, cost savings. 3 key proof points that will help the person know something, feel something, and act on it or give you a decision. And then thinking about how to visualize that. So again, I just want to talk another example of bringing it to life, working with a client on how many people have the need for an organ transplant in the United States. That data point is 100,000 Americans every day are in need of an organ transplant. We didn't quite know how to share that data point. It's a number. It exists in and of itself. Some folks can easily see that. Others, myself, can't just visualize 100,000 people. And we started playing with ways to visualize that. We said, okay, someone's threw out football stadium, college football stadium. I said, that's great, but there's big school, like the Big Ten, they're smaller. I said, I went to an all-women's school. We did not have a football team. So that might not be a common reference point. And we landed on cruise ship. So those of my age, it was all about the Love Boat. Other folks in different categories are like, it's all about the Disney cruise ship, or folks have seen a movie. There was a common rallying between all the different generations and areas of expertise could all kind of see a cruise ship. And then we realized to get to 100,000 people, that was 10 cruise ships. So on our slide, there are 10 cruise ships. And other times we have a cruise ship with an X with the number 10. It's 10 of these gives you 100,000 people. So again, thinking about how do you convert all of this for the learner. To wrap it up, as you think about your story, you have your 3 points, you visualized it, and you have brought it to life with a story. You want to close with your call to action and be directional. A couple of my favorite directional closes are: only you can prevent forest fires. That is a call to action. National Park Service crushes it on social media. Don't pet the fluffy cows. Got the big bison or a grizzly bear. Tell one person you meet today about the rule of 3. Remember to tell a story. Or call 1-800-COW-TUBS. So it's directional and it's your close. And then finally, repeat. Remember the 7. And I'll tell you, people will not hear as many as you think. Unless you feel like you're just sick of hearing yourself say the thing, unless you get that icky, don't make me say it one more time sensation, you have not said it enough. Reinforce, reinforce, reinforce. Next, the tip is thinking about our body and our voice. Wait, was there a poll question? Did I skip?
Yep, there's one quick poll question, and we'll just do it in the background. So next poll question is: how many parts to your content should you have? 3, 5, 10, enough to fill the time. Let me launch that for you so you can see it. And I just want to make one quick comment that the importance that call to action is so critical that you brought. I can't tell you how many times you sit through a presentation and it was really good, but there was no finality to it. There was no, well, what do we do with this? And I just love the way you laid out different ways to do that call to action. If you keep it simple, it's actionable. So I just want to really emphasize and tell you how much I love that point. It really resonates. So with that, we can go to point 4.
All right. Oh, I've got it. That poll always blocks me up here. Got to just close that window for me. Back early on in the slides, I mentioned that your nonverbal is important and that improves your presentations by 55%. This is why I want to touch on this point. And so, hold on, maybe see if I click again, maybe. Nope. Very sensitive clicker here. There we go. So when you think about your presentation, you've got the words, you've got the visuals, you've got the intent, you've got your audience in mind, you're ready to go, is using the rest of you. There's a whole lot of rest of you that you can use with your body. What's your posture in the meeting? Are you sitting, delivering really critical information, kickback? Do you have 2 monitors and you look like this, speaking to people, and I get to look at your ear for 20 minutes as you present? How are you making eye contact? If you're online, someone in a session earlier, about 2 weeks ago, said, I don't know where to look when I'm online. And I said, put a big colored circle around your camera lens, or put a picture of someone that you love right on the back of your laptop where your camera is, so you see a friendly face literally looking at you while you're speaking to the camera. When you're in a panel of speakers, always look at the person speaking. You know, if Doug and I are next to each other and I'm looking at the audience or I'm looking at my notes, I don't look like I'm paying attention. And someone could ask you something or could throw something over to you to pitch in on. So always make sure you're looking at the person in the room who's speaking. And it helps you stay engaged and alert. So when you're called upon, you can jump into action. And also say, President Clinton, I think everybody realized, is a very natural speaker. However, when he became president and went to do his fireside chats, tanked. And I was like, what happened? He's like the golden speaker. And they realized they needed to bring in people. He could not generate that enthusiasm and that natural gift of gab without people in the room. So they brought in the interns and put them in the room during the fireside chat, lit them up. So think about what you need, especially if you're remote or in an office where you can put those enthusiasm building clues around you. Plant your feet so you're not swaying. Watch your swivel chair. all of this makes you look distracted, fidgety, and uncertain. If you've got keys in your pocket or things, again, noises can be irritating to folks. Jangly jewelry can be irritating and distracting. You wanna look planted, engaged, and reduce things that distract people from the moment, to have those cat moments, if you will. Use your fingers. They come naturally. People don't talk typically sitting like this the whole time without hands. You've noticed I've counted things. I went up, I released, I stressed things. That is all normal. Get comfortable with bringing them in to support what your voice is saying. And I will do one caution with head nods. Head nods, we often in America have been taught to do that to show I'm listening. And that could be thought of as agreement by other people in the room. And you might not want to be agreeing with what they're saying. So just watch your head nods. And I love the Tai Chi speaker. Fantastic there. And next is your voice. If you notice when I did the mindful practice, I was a little softer, maybe a little slower. I did different pacing when I gave adjectives in the scenario. Make sure you're clear and heard. You can give energy, you can speed up. We have this new process and it's going to take this from here and it's going to go over here. We're going to go here, go here, and go here. Show that energy behind it. And then you can slow down and say, now I'll give you the details. But you brought them up and now you're going to calm them down with your knowledge. I've just started a book called, I don't know if I can say this, so I'm going to say Likeable Bad, and you fill in the blank. And it talked about that speed is viewed as authority in senior executives. So if you have a slow tempo that you're trying to explain, you might want to try to speed it up so you can have a little bit more natural authority to your voice. What if I get soft? Will you lean in? What if I get soft and I lean in? It's a different vibe. Or come with me. I want to share a couple things. I've invited you into my space and I've shifted the tone and the energy. You can also have the dramatic pause. Again, think about how your voice can amplify your words. Quick things, beverages before speaking, milk and orange juice, coat your throat. Not so good for enunciation. And please watch out for carbonated drinks. When your wrist brain turns on and everything starts going, you're going to get some burping involved. And then finally, if someone says, oh, I don't need a microphone, the microphone is not for you. It is for those in the room who have a hearing disability, who might not want to say, yes, I have one and I can't hear you. So just accept the microphone and figure out how to work it appropriately. And the last one is practice. Nothing happens well without practice. I write things down. I can tell you scientifically, if you write things down with a pen, you will remember it better, which will help you deliver it better. I mark up I have a printed script here. It is color coded. I've practiced it multiple times. And when you practice, be very aware of time. If you have 5 minutes to speak, speak for 5 minutes. Going over is a sign of rudeness. So is how I internalize it. And if you're looking for a cheat sheet to figure out how much time you have and how much content you have, in television news, 130 typed words, it means you are going to have 1 spoken minute of content. And I will, let me see if I can do this politically correct here. The name of the book is in there, and it is 130 words equals 1 minute, just because I am not, again, the data brain. So there you go. And again, you can also use technology. You can record yourself, just listen to what your voice does. Then you can watch yourself in a mirror. You can record it. So, and practicing is essential for effectiveness. And every encounter you have every day is an opportunity to practice. Now, I think we've got one last poll question.
We do. Let's launch it. All right. What is the most important thing to do as a speaker? Know your audience, tell a story and use visual, practice, all the above. As you guys go through this, Emily, first of all, thank you very much. This has been a great session, just tons of feedback. People really enjoyed the tips, the tricks, the authority you're teaching us. I would ask, we have about a minute left. If we could leave with just one takeaway, that's hard because we covered a lot of things. What would be your macro takeaway from your speech today that you'd like us to walk away with?
I can give you 3.
All right, we'll do 3.
It's about your audience. Be succinct. And practice.
Perfect.
There are some slides here. You can find me also on social media on LinkedIn. I am active, and I also have a blog called Golden Acorns. So didn't know if anyone had anything to ask, or Doug, if you've been tracking anything. I know we've only got a couple minutes left.
Yeah, I've been tracking. It looks like we've addressed most of the questions, and your point about being succinct is you're absolutely got us right on schedule. So well done. And I see you follow your best practices. But once again, please join me in thanking Emily. We'll do some virtual claps, or I'll do a loud one here. Really just a wonderful session. So much to learn here. As we mentioned earlier, these slides will be available. You'll be getting, there's a question about the archive. The archive will be available for this as well. And before I let you go, we do have a few quick housekeeping items to go through. I want to thank our NextGen sponsors. Through them and their support, we're able to provide all these resources for free and really be able to extend the knowledge base that we've learned to all of our audience members here. Next slide, please. Up next, believe it or not, we're at the end of the day. This day has gone so fast for me. There's been so much content. We have our closing keynote starting at 3 p.m. We have a session on change management, as well as the importance of growing your network. So please tune in for that. What else do we have here? That is it. So before we go, again, I'd like to thank Emily so much. Just wonderful information, tons of insights. I can't wait to put into practice some of the things you've talked about. 2, I want to thank our audience today. The service that you have participate in your public sector service is so appreciated. I can't tell you how much GovLoop and NextGen enjoy serving you. You have times thankless jobs. You have so much change you're dealing with, yet you're taking time for yourselves to grow and build your career skills, and we appreciate that. So from all of us here, and Emily, thank you for joining us today. Thank you for all the work that you do on a daily basis. And know it is much, much appreciated. Keep doing great things, and we will see you at the closing keynote. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.